We are just about here. Opening day is right in a few hours, or maybe 1 hour if by the time I upload this video. But gonna go through these very quickly. This is a cleaner look at my MLB predictions, and I also have some award predictions that I will get to, or some award candidates actually, not necessarily predictions. But I'm going to be going over a few things that seem a little bit controversial or up in the air, just so that I can relay my sort of opinion on that, because I already went through every single team in my last video. You can take a look at that if you want. It'll probably be in a card somewhere. But I'm going to be going over the things that seem controversial. So we started in the AL, and we'll start with the wild card candidates, the two candidates for the second wild card. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised to see Tampa win this second wild card with how this team is shaping up. I just predicted this team right here because, I mean, honestly, if I look at this again, I probably pick Tampa. But I just predicted them because I have a feeling that Billy is going to make a move to get a reliever. Wouldn't mind seeing Franklin Barreto moved, or Jorge Mateo even. But hey, he has the speeds, and maybe he'll turn into something. But Barreto is a guy that I wouldn't mind seeing traded for a starter, because this team needs one desperately, even with Luzardo in the wings. And I mean, there's just not much to look forward to with Manaea out. And they really should have looked to sign Dallas Keuchel. I don't know why they're not trying to do that. But also here, I think it'll come down to a game 163 between these two teams for the AL Central. Because, I mean, it's just too close for me to choose when I went through each schedule. Because I went through every single team schedule, and that'll be on a spreadsheet. So, I mean, I won't be keeping track of every single team up to date every single day. But I'll be keeping track of them as close as I can. And so, there's the AL Central, the American League, and what's up in the air. But now we go to the National League. And yes, I have the Philadelphia Phillies winning that division. I think that Chris Young is going to do some things with that rotation. He's their new pitching coach, and I think he will swing the tide and stop some of their underachievers from being underachievers and turn them into legit starters, or at least decent starters, to get them to win that division, because that lineup is loaded, and they have enough hitting depth at the major league level. It could be better at the minor league level. And I think that David Robertson is enough for their bullpen for right now, and overall, I think they also hired a good bullpen coach. But I think that the Phillies are looking pretty promising, and I think that they're just, I don't know, I just think that they'll win the division. Just me, I guess. But then you have the New York Mets in second place, and this is also going to come down to a game 163 in my opinion. Again, too close when I went through every team's schedule, so I'm just going to go with the team that I think, because like right here, I picked Cleveland over Minnesota just because I would trust any Cleveland starters before I would trust any Minnesota starters. Maybe I would trust Jose Barrios over like Cleveland's 4th or 5th, but he has to show that to me this year as well. I think he will, but still up in the air. And I mean, if Jose Barrios is going, then most likely Corey Kluber is going. So that's why I would pick Cleveland. And also they have some guys that can swing the tide more than Minnesota does. And then when you look like right back here, 163, because I got a little bit off track, there are the Mets and the Nats. I picked the Mets just because I would trust DeGrom over Scherzer, or, you know, I would trust the Mets offense over the Nats offense. No knock on some of their guys, but there are a lot more question marks, and Soto is a guy that could have a sophomore slump. We'll see on that front. Doesn't always happen, but it is still a possibility. And I just feel like the Mets have the pitching, and they have the bullpen, because their new coaches will help them get there, and they have enough hitting depth. The only knocks that I have on them are with hitting coach, manager, and starter depth, like I said in my last video. So yeah, picking the Mets to get that second wild card. And then the Braves. A lot of people may be surprised at this, but I don't think they're in the race for the division. I think these three teams are in the race for the NL East. This team has too many question marks at pitching. They just hired a new pitching coach that I'm not fond of, and they just don't have enough for me to really trust them. because they do have some pieces in the offense, but I don't know. They had a lot of things go right for them last year. Kind of like what Giraffe Nick Mark, he actually said it beautifully. They had a lot of things go right for them last year, and I think we have the same record prediction now that I think about it. Maybe he did one win. I don't really remember, but the Braves, I'm not too sold on them at all. I'm sold on these three teams far before the Braves. Originally, I had the Mets or Nats winning the division, but I don't know, something recently told me to pick the Phillies. And then with the NL Central, another pretty controversial division, I have the Cardinals. Now, I think that the Reds actually have a very complete roster, because the Cardinals, they have the offense and they have the starter. They still have the starting pitching, but the bullpen is still a bit up in the air. I think that it'll be good enough to get them to win the division, but I wouldn't be surprised to see the Reds win it, because the Reds have a lot of things to look forward to. They have the best pitching coach in baseball. They have a really good bullpen coach, so that should do enough to swing the tide to get them to the playoffs, because if Derek Johnson can get a rotation led by Jolys Chassin and Brandon Woodruff and Wade Miley to the playoffs. I know he didn't have the effect on every single starter, Chase Anderson as well. I know he didn't have the effect on every single starter that ended up doing well last year, because it was some other advisors. But Derek Johnson still did wonders with a rotation that's average at best. And on paper, the Reds' rotation, Luis Castillo, Sonny Gray, Alex Wood if he's healthy, Tanner Roark. It is a far better rotation than the Brewers' rotation was on paper. So give me the Cincinnati Reds to go to the playoffs, because Sonny Gray, I mean, he's going to be away from Yankee Stadium. Great American Ballpark is an offensive-oriented ballpark, but so is Miller Park. So if Derek Johnson can get those guys to work some magic, then he can get these starters to work their magic. So I would be surprised to see the Reds miss the playoffs. And like I said, new bullpen coach will do some things with that bullpen and make it more than Raisel Iglesias and I think like David Hernandez. They also have Jared Hughes as well. So I think that the Reds are going to make the playoffs. And the Cubs, I think that the game will start to pass Madden by, and overall, I'm just really not sold on a lot of their depth. They have a great rotation for 2016. It would have been great in 2016, but in 2019, it's not as good. The bullpen does have a few pieces, but I'm just not sold on their depth outside of their core, or to surround their core, so I just think that they're going to disappoint this year, or just fall off, I guess. And with the Pirates, the Archer trade, I knew it wasn't going to be a good one from the get-go, and it's looking to be an awful trade, because the Pirates don't know how to develop talent, and that's really what's making me hesitant, along with the fact that I think that these teams are far better. I mean, maybe the bullpen doesn't do enough for the Cardinals, but they have a real manager, and they have Paul Goldschmidt now, and they didn't lose much of anything. So, no excuses for the Cardinals. They have to make the playoffs and win the division easily, but make the playoffs at least. They have to make the playoffs. No excuses for this year. And that's pretty much my thoughts on the NL Central. And with the Brewers, they had a lot go right for them last year, similar to the Braves. And I just really am not sold on that rotation. That bullpen, I think, is good, but I don't think it'll be enough to propel them to just get to the place, because the offense, I think, is going to take a bit of a step back as well. They had a lot of things go right. Love Christian Yelich, my favorite player. I wanted the A's to get him for a reason when he was available. But, not like Darren Bush would have gotten him to do what he did in Milwaukee, but still, I really would rather be wrong about this, but I just don't see them doing much. And so now with my awards, I have my MVP candidates, Matt Chapman, Jose Ramirez, and Nelson Cruz. Cy Young, Chris Sale, Blake Snell, Corey Kluber. Rookie of the Year, Eloy Jimenez, Vladimir Guerrero, Jesus Luzardo. And then for the National League, MVP, Joey Votto, Paul Goldschmidt, Mike Scherzer. Cy Young, Luis Castillo. I think this guy is going to get a lot of good tutelage from Derek Johnson and Matt Scherzer, Jack Flaherty, also Cy Young candidates. And for Rookie of the Year, I think Logan Allen can come up and do a lot of good things for that Padres rotation and probably even be the best Padres starting pitcher. And then there's also Peter Alonso and Victor Robles, guys that are going to have some pretty good roles with the Mets and Nats respectively. And so, yeah, hopefully this video isn't too long compared to my last one, but that'll do it for my predictions. Opening day is here. Let's get it.